What's up, everybody? I'm Katie.
And I'm Morgan.
And this is For Your Misinformation, a podcast dedicated to empowering women to be more politically engaged so we can act in our own best interests.
Let us break down the problem and tell you what we're doing and what you can do to help solve it.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi, Katie.
How are you?
Pretty good. It's Mother's Day.
Yes, happy Mother's Day. Thank you, you too.
Yeah, I mean, neither of us are mothers.
Nope.
But we have mothers. So
also true. Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to them.
For sure.
And to anyone listening belatedly who is a mom or has a mom.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to get into talking about Arizona.
Yes, me too.
It reminded me a little bit of Georgia.
Yeah, I was surprised. I really didn't know what to expect out of Arizona, and I don't know what the right word is. Like, I'm like, great potential.
Yes,
this is good.
Yeah,
but
again,
also like,
they're slightly better off, I think, than Georgia. Sorry, Georgia, but because they did like elect Kirsten Sinema, who is a Democrat and openly bisexual, to be senator. They actually have two female senators in Martha McSally, who is, not nearly as progressive or cool or interesting or funny or smart, but
we'll talk about her.
For sure. And then that's kind of like, then it starts going downhill from there because they're a red trifecta, they're a Republican trifecta. So their governor is a Republican, and then both of their legislatures are Republican. So, so like you said, there's a lot of potential. They got the Grand Canyon, which I've never seen. I've never been to Arizona. I have nothing. I got nothing really.
I mean, it's a pretty state for sure. It's a good place.
Yeah, a dry heat.
They're not doing great with the COVID response right now.
Oh no.
And breaking news. They're
would
not
argue
gonna fire the scientists.
Oh yeah, I would argue that their poor COVID response is because of their Republican trifecta, but
yeah, I think for sure. I think it definitely is kind of that approach of like, well, if we aren't like testing, then it looks like we don't have cases, so we're doing great. Which is that's not right. That doesn't
backwards.
work. That's the Trump approach.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that, states. Don't fall in line with that.
Yep. So this is a big year for Arizona because they have a Senate race that we talked about. So Martha McSally was appointed senator in the same way that Kelly Loeffler was appointed senator by the Republican governor. So that means that she is up for re-election. She actually is in John McCain's old seat. He died in August, and then she got appointed to the Senate. And that was like one of the things that like I guess I probably knew that somewhere in like the back of my head, but I got sort of like I felt like a punch in the gut because like John McCain was one of the like last Republican senators you could like trust to stand up to Trump if he thought he was doing something wrong, which he often did, which is why they didn't really like each other at all. So it was just such like, it was like, oh yeah, that's right. John McCain got replaced by Martha McSally, and Martha McSally fucking sucks. And it's like,
Martha McSally is in a love affair with Trump, not literally, but she agrees with his policies 95% of the time. And it's like, where are all the Republicans who are actually standing up for American people and actual like good policies? Because even the Republicans have historically had some decency.
Yeah.
And that even includes their policies, and we are not seeing that under the Trump administration. And like, man, I never thought I would say the day where we like really missed people like John McCain.
For sure.
We want more people like Mitt Romney. Like, dang, world.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
are we doing?
I would definitely put them somewhere in the like Joe Biden, Mitt Romney, John McCain. They'd be in like the same area of the
Yeah,
continuum, like kind of right
centrist.
in the middle. Yeah. So that was a bummer. So that's pretty much the most primary objective in Arizona is to flip the seat held by Martha McSally. And I'm sure we'll talk about who's running against her later. He is very cool. There's 11 electoral college votes there that could help the presidential election get flipped blue or red, depending on how that goes. So it's turning purple, but it's not definitely not like a guaranteed purple state or a guaranteed blue or red state. And then also, like we mentioned, it's a red trifecta. So we want to break unified Republican control of the state government by flipping one or both of the state legislative chambers. So we're targeting, actually, hold on, sorry. And the House and Senate districts in Arizona that are being targeted are kind of all within like the Phoenix metro area. And then like there's some more targets out in like northeast of Phoenix. So that's all stuff that we kind of have to tackle if we want to make progress in 2020. So there's a lot of opportunities to jump in and get involved. But some of the issues that people are voting on is just like in other states, gun violence prevention. This was another thing that reminded me of Georgia. Every year there's like 244 on average gun homicides, 669 firearm suicides, 582 non-fatal shootings, and 553 accidental shootings that tragically take place in Arizona. They have some of the weakest gun laws in the country. They get an F from the Giffords Law Center for State Gun Laws, which is 46 out of 50th in the country. And firearms that are bought in Georgia are found at crime scenes in other states at 2 times the national average, just like Georgia. So once again, if your state has shitty gun laws, people are just going to get those guns in your state and take them back to wherever they go. We're only as safe as our least careful states. So yeah, so we could like stand up to a gun lobby and elect Democrats who will like pass common sense gun laws, like what happened in Virginia in 2019. And then the other problem, I'm sure it's not as bad as it was in Georgia, but there's a lot of gerrymandering in Arizona since 2010. The courts have actually stopped and reversed Republican gerrymandering, but like without a Democratic majority in the legislature, those fair maps like might be at risk. And then probably like what Arizona should, I don't know, be focusing on the most. I don't know, that those gun violence statistics are kind of scary, but yeah. But Arizona is in the bottom 3 states in the country for per student funding for education. They spend an average of just $8,123 per student. And for reference, New Jersey spends $20,000 per student on average. New Jersey is ranked 4th in the country, just for some perspective. But yeah, that's a big difference. And then in terms of college readiness, Arizona's public pre-K through 12 education is second to last in the country. And they're also 45th in the country for average teacher salary. And I don't know. I don't know how to be more blatant about it, but it's Democrats that want to increase funding for Arizona students and teachers. I mean, all of students and teachers, but yeah, so that's...
And like there is so much research that has gone into figuring out the benefits of investing in public education and the benefits to I mean it does not make sense not to invest in public education. It really does not, to ensure that all students have access to a good education is like it's just so important, and you would think it is a no-brainer, but it's not. I mean, apparently it's not. I don't know.
Well, Arizona, they have been a red trifecta since 2009. So there hasn't really been anybody like fighting for proper public education funding since in the last like 11 years, really, in in Arizona. Yeah.
And I cannot think of any ethical reason in which having like an adequately educated populace in your state, it could be argued for.
Yeah.
I don't think that exists.
Yeah.
That reasoning. I know, like, my sister's a teacher. I've worked in school-based health education, and so like it's just, I don't know, like, this is really one that gets me.
I know.
The low teacher salaries and then not investing in education. It's a tragedy.
I feel like particularly bad because my friend Kelly just moved, well, like a year ago, I guess a little bit less, from Illinois to Arizona. And now I'm like looking all this stuff up in Arizona. I'm like, oh, Kelly, I wish you had more support, girl.
Sorry,
yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Let's flip the script on Arizona. Let's do it.
She's a very like smart, capable, determined woman, and I'm sure if she sets her mind to it, she will accomplish it in no time.
Great.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the characters in Arizona politics. We talked about Martha McSally. Like I said, she was appointed by the Republican governor to take over John McCain's seat, which is a bummer because he had a lot of integrity and she doesn't have any at all. I spent most of today watching like interviews with her and stuff. I don't know, just her logic is off. I don't know. She used to be more, have more integrity. Like she used to,
she did
offer criticisms of Trump. But now she pretty much agrees with everything he says. But yeah, so she was never elected. She just got appointed by the governor. And then Governor Ducey I don't know that much about him. He seems like he's like your typical run-of-the-mill, like milk toast, whatever. But I know all that I need to know because like a week ago or so, maybe even less, they're reopening the state. And he decided to pull research that was going on at ASU and University of Arizona and the health departments to figure out some like modeling based on reopening statistics and how when they might have to shut back down again if they open up now versus later versus whatever. So, and
let's just not do the research on it so we don't know whether or not we're going to need to close anything down or make extra precautions.
You sent me that article and both of us were like, oh, okay, so this is all we need to know about this guy. Like, this will make our Arizona episode easy.
Yeah, it's just intentionally like, well, if we don't have the information, nobody can get mad at us for making bad decisions because, well, we were making the best decisions we could with the information available.
Right.
But like that only applies if the information clearly, truly was not available, not just because you decided to stop trying to acquire the information. Like, of course, economies need to reopen, but there are like safe and logical and evidence-based and public health recommended ways to do that. And firing the researchers,
it's not
that's not it.
It's not it. It's not like a feeling you get in your heart, Governor Ducey, that you're like, I feel like Arizona's ready to be open again. Like there's modeling and statistics that go into it, and he's not interested in those, which makes that means that guy's not ready to be governor of anything. So I don't know. There's a lot of change that needs to happen in Arizona, but obviously I don't know. They elected Kyrsten Sinema. She is very cool. Yeah. She actually ran against Martha McSally and beat her by 50-some thousand votes.
Yeah.
Which was like 2.5 percentage points, I think. Man, I'm not like positive about those numbers, but it wasn't. I mean, that's how much Stacey Abrams lost the Georgia gubernatorial race by, and
it's a close election. Really, it was known as a fierce race.
Yes. What else was I going to say about Kyrsten Sinema?
I could talk a little bit more about Martha McSally and Kyrsten Sinema.
Actually, yes, go for it.
Yeah, so like Katie already said, we're trying to get Martha McSally voted out, replaced by Mark Kelly. This one also was going to be a fierce race. So the race between McSally and Kirsten Sinema was intense. And therefore, because this one's also going to be pretty intense, the attack ads in Arizona have already started. McSally's team is using the very typical and overdone Republican tactic of calling their opponent a socialist, which, for the record, Mark Kelly's not a socialist, but to many Republicans who side with Trump on everything, anybody who supports any kind of like common sense gun law and was pro impeachment is truly a socialist.
Yeah.
To them.
Do you want to mention like why he's so pro common sense gun laws?
Yeah. So he is one of the top people that I would say really knows what they're talking about when it comes to what can happen when the wrong people have access to firearms. So Mark Kelly's a retired Navy veteran. He flew multiple space missions, and he retired from being an astronaut after his wife, Gabrielle Giffords, almost died in an assassination attempt in 2011, which was a mass shooting where 6 people were also killed at that event, including a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah, so he knows his shit.
Yeah, he knows what it's at to be the center of these mass shootings and the center of the response to them. As many people probably know, Gabrielle Giffords survived that assassination attempt. And so thankfully, you know, they're here on that to do a lot of really good work. And
when we talk about get which states, like ratings that states get in terms of gun laws, like A, B, C, D, F, whatever, that's from the Giffords. Oh,
yeah,
man, what is that? It's Giffords.
Yeah, so it's Giffords Law Center.
Thank you.
Or, so in I think 2013, Kelly and his wife Giffords, they started a political action committee called Americans for Responsible Solutions. The mission of that organization is to promote solutions with elected officials and the general public, which is great. That's a great mission.
Yeah.
And despite the assassination attempt and everything, Mark and Gabby both still do support the Second Amendment, but that also includes promoting responsible gun ownership, including universal background checks and other things that we know work. So they paired up with the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, and that's what launched the Giffords Law Center, which is an advocacy and research organization focused on preventing gun violence.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Mark Kelly is well known as an astronaut. His twin brother, Scott Kelly, and him were the ones that were in that research study where they compared after Scott Kelly spent a year in space and then came back, and they were able to compare the changes there. So people have probably heard of that. So if his name sounds familiar, that's why. He's also written a couple really cute children's books.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, including Mousetronaut, which is about a little mouse astronaut. I know, right? But like, so he hasn't been a politician before, so we don't have a voting record to look upon, which in some ways, you know, is, risky when you don't have that when you're running a campaign. But in other ways, it's really great because then you don't have things that you can be criticized on in terms of the way you have voted, which is what Martha McSally has. So, a lot of money has been raised for Martha McSally's campaign. It will continue to be because she's one of the NRA's favorites. Yeah. And so a lot of her support comes from the gun lobby, which is ironic. Also, she's a retired fighter pilot. So it's like an astronaut versus a fighter pilot.
It's so
somebody
weird.
Who is the NRA's little favorite versus somebody whose wife was almost assassinated.
Yep.
But McSally has a record of votes and, positions in politics, including supporting repealing the Affordable Care Act. She's voted to defund Planned Parenthood. She does not think Trump should have to release his tax returns, unlike every other president ever who has. She voted against witnesses in Trump's impeachment, of course. She opposes allowing people to refinance their student loans for lower interest rates. Yeah. And she also voted to cut Pell Grants, which is a program, like it's grant money that allows students from low income families to get help paying for college.
Yeah, I got Pell Grants.
Yeah.
So fuck you, Martha
like
McSally.
A lot of students get Pell Grants, and she's like, no, we don't need this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
just join the Air Force.
Right. Exactly. Like everybody, it's for everyone. She also wants to privatize Social Security and raise the retirement age, which matches well with her positions on Pell Grants and student loans, because people who can't pay off their student loans until they're 65 will obviously have to continue working until they're 80. So I'm assuming that's her whole plan with that. Yeah. She's also opposed to net neutrality, which means a fair and open internet, which is very uncool. Like, net neutrality is good. We need net neutrality. She is also a climate change denier, which AKA is just an anti-vaxxer for the whole literal planet.
Okay, when we record these episodes, we work off the same document, but we edit them. We each edit the document. And when I got to this part in the document, I almost texted you and was like, that is the perfect analogy. That's exactly what climate denial is it's being anti-vax, but for the planet. And yeah, it's like, why are we letting these people decide stuff? Like, it's demonstrably false. Like, why are we arguing with them? I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's like so many people who are scientists, well respected in their fields, have been like, oh, hey, this is a real like threat, and
it's like, well, I don't think so.
And I say it's not. That's not how this works.
Right. I'm not interested.
Like, it's not a partisan issue either with climate change. Like, I once dated a Republican, just like a couple dates. Yeah, it was unfortunate, but very Republican. Grew up in the South, so like, was kind of ingrained in him probably from childhood. But he actually was a meteorologist.
Oh.
Yeah, so he had a master's degree in meteorology, and like, he was like, yeah, no, climate change is real. I have different opinions than a lot of people do who vote Democrat on like the best like way we should approach it, or who, whatever. But he's like, but no, like, it's definitely real, and it shouldn't be a political issue. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. I'm a proud Republican, but I know the science, and like, I will say, and I was like, good on you. So like, I mean, again, science is not partisan, which somehow COVID-19 has also become, which anyway, we could talk about that all day. So Martha McSally, anti-vax, but for the whole planet. And like, with a lot of things, especially immigration, it's really hard to tell like where she actually falls. Like, what she actually feels is kind of a mystery, or like what her position is on things like that, because she's changed her position on immigration to align with Trump. But so it's like, do you still believe what you said in 2015 or not?
Well, even when, so like I said, I watched a lot of interviews with her today, and like, well, and I watched the only televised debate between her and Kirsten Sinema, and the mediators would ask her like flat out, like, how do you reconcile like these things that you said in 2015 that now go so much against like the way that you're behaving now that you're running for Senate, or especially now that she's like in the Senate? And she was like, I don't think that those things are contradictory at all. Like, she was like obfuscating, and like, it just was like, she's just a bullshitter. Like, it's frustrating to watch. I actually like, it was like an hour-long debate, and I ended up shutting it off after like 30 minutes because I was like, I get it. I get what she's about. Like, she's not going to give you like a real answer to anything. And it was kind of interesting hearing Kirsten Sinema talk, but it was just like, I cannot listen to 15 more minutes of Martha McSally just like pretending that she's not full of shit. So.
Yeah, exactly. And like, definitely like, if you're like, who is this Kirsten Sinema? Look her up, like watch 5 minutes of this debate or something, because she's very, very cool. And she was recently interviewed on an episode of the true crime podcast, Wine and Crime.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so she was interviewed, and that also, if you like true crime and loud Midwesterners, that would be a great podcast to listen to. In her interview, like, she's not talking about politics; it's
Yeah.
just her. So if you're like, "What's this senator actually like?" That's like interviews like that are a great way to get to like learn a little bit more about somebody.
Yeah. Actually, can we talk about? I think we like did exchange some Marco Polos about this, but I was listening to Love It or Leave It yesterday, and I can't remember who he was interviewing, so sorry. But what they were talking about is how we should probably look at America as like a team and the president as the coach. And right now we are like a team that has some pretty good talent, like in terms of I'm not going to say like our federal government, but as like a country, we have like some really good talent. We just are being like completely mismanaged by our coach. So we're hoping to get another coach, but yeah, like you said, like you can just tell like what kind of a person they are. Like, I don't know. That's why I like listening to interviews and stuff. But yeah, you can like just if you want to like just listen to that episode of Wine and Crime, they're definitely like louder and more obnoxious Midwesterners than we are. But yeah, if you're into that, go for it. But
yeah, the interview on that episode of Love It or Leave It was Michael Lewis.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I thought that was really good. And then like he also referred to Elizabeth Warren as the referee, which I thought was really good. But yeah, you can just, I don't know. I was thinking about it and I was like, yeah, actually like that makes sense. Like you want a politician who has qualities that you would want in a partner, but also like qualities that you'd want in a good coach. And like I've had some good coaches and some bad coaches, and like you can tell like there's a huge difference. So I don't know. I thought that was just like a useful lens to look through.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing that I'm going to say, at least for now, about Martha McSally, and this is just maybe me being kind of petty, but she's opposed to marriage equality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which therefore to me, I think is particularly sweet that she lost her election to an openly bisexual senator,
for sure.
Kirsten Sinema, who we love and adore, and is just very cool. So I think that's extra great.
Yeah. It's still, I know we talk about this all the time, but that too, I just don't understand why that's not disqualifying. Like, why it is so weird that you can get up and be like, hey, I want to represent this state. I also don't think that equality is something that should be aimed for, you know, like how it's 2020. How are you going to say that you don't believe in marriage equality? Like, what the fuck is wrong with I don't like, why are we letting people like that be in charge of stuff?
It's true. Well, because there is no secular reason not to support marriage equality.
Yeah.
There is no secular reason not to support it. And so because of that, if you're not supporting it, it's due to your religious beliefs, which you are 100% allowed to have in America. But you are also 100% not allowed to use to influence other people,
right?
Like life decisions, like whether or not they should or could get married. Like, that's great and fine, whatever, have your religious beliefs, but don't put them on other people. And if you are a legislator who is actively trying to take away people's ability to marry or even like take away their personhood by not identifying them like as who they identify as, or by like just failing to recognize the fact that non-heterosexual people exist, then you shouldn't get to make laws.
Right.
Like, that should be disqualifying because now your religious beliefs are influencing your policy decisions, and that's not what they're there to do.
Right.
I have religious beliefs, but someday when I'm making the laws, those religious beliefs aren't going to be used to guide the laws I make.
Right.
Like, that's not how it works, and it shouldn't. Like, so we need to vote her out.
Yeah, she's got to go.
Arizona, let's do this.
Yes, please adopt your own Senate race. She is extra annoying, and Mark Kelly just has like a lot of empathy. He's a cool guy. He's bald. He makes puns a lot, space puns.
Oh my gosh, his space puns. Yeah, I am here for it.
Yes. And
go to his campaign website if you haven't. Like, it's all like spacey. It's so cute.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for in a politician, really.
Yeah. Also, like his campaign website, if you don't want to look at it, so you just want to hear us talk about it, like he includes things like healthcare is a right. Billionaires and big corporations should also have to pay their fair share of taxes, just like the rest of the people in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
He opposes making cuts to Medicare for seniors, and he opposes privatizing Social Security. He wants to fix the immigration system in Arizona, which I love myself a good systems approach.
Right.
When you recognize that like the system doesn't work, so we have to change, like we have to fix the system.
Yeah.
We can't just like put a band-aid over it.
Yeah.
And he wants to enhance public education, which like we talked about earlier, Arizona needs badly.
Yep.
Badly. So in essence, his policy stances check out.
Yeah.
We need to get him elected.
Yep.
Let's do this.
Put him in the Senate. Fast track to the Senate.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a very noble Senate race to focus on. Also, Sister District has adopted 4 candidates from Arizona. Doug Irvin is up in the Arizona State Senate District 20. Judy Schweibert, which is a fun name, is up in the Arizona State House of Representatives District 20. And then Coral Evans is up for the District 6 in the House, and Felicia French is up in the Senate in the District 6. So they're all very cool. Speaking of Sister District, last night we did trivia. I think that's actually why I feel so like weird and foggy today, because I had like 2.5 amaretto sours while we were playing trivia, and like I have just felt weird all day. But it was very fun. And I think so. The contributions went towards Lori Pahutsky, who is a Sister District candidate up in. She's actually already in the Michigan State House, but she is like one of the more vulnerable members, and she's up again. And Sister District has adopted her to help her get reelected. And I think trivia last night raised $5,000 for her, which is pretty cool. Especially like early money is very much appreciated. I learned a lot of new things last night, but I learned that Emily's list stands for
early money is like yeast.
Yes. Early money is like yeast. There's no actual Emily. It's an acronym for early money is like yeast, which I think we explained this last time, but just means that like if they get enough money early on, they can hire like a campaign manager, which is like worth a lot more. It's a lot more useful to them than like getting an extra like $12 donation in like October, where they like might be able to buy a slightly larger ad target, whatever. But yeah, so if you guys are thinking about donating money, this is like probably the most useful time to do it.
Yeah, this is a great time for donations. And if you're in Arizona listening, or you're otherwise just like, wow, we really got to do something to get Mark Kelly elected.
Yeah.
Things like that, online events, like they raised $5,000, and it was all over Zoom. Mm-hmm. So you can get people from all over. I mean, neither of us live in Michigan, the state that Lori Pahutsky is actually running in. And it was fun. It raised a lot of money. Just like little things like that can be great. So if you're inspired and you want to host something like that, like do it. Invite us.
Yeah.
We'll come, or we'll help.
That's like, the other thing I wanted to mention is a listener joined us. I mean, she's also like a friend, but yeah, we had like 9 people or 10 people on our team. I'm not gonna pretend like we won. We absolutely did not win.
We held our own. We were very middle of the pack.
Okay, it was fine because it was like 9 millennials and then my stepdad, and most of the questions were clearly not geared for millennials. But it was still very fun. I would definitely do it again. And you can't go door knocking right now. So any other activism that you're doing is going to go that much further because nobody's doing any of that right now. So
yeah, and it was a lot more fun than like an online rally, which is just listening to people talk on Zoom, which is beneficial, but also for people who are still working but from home right now. I am on Zoom or Google Meet or WebEx for like 8 hours a day. Right. The last thing I want to do is listen to another webinar.
Get lectured again.
Yeah, like I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an interesting time, I think, in politics because people are having to get creative with their fundraising and everything. So I think it's very cool.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. So yeah, I mean, honestly, the actions that you can take here are kind of the same as the actions that you can take in other states. If you live in the state and you want to probably make the most impact that you can, focus on those 4 local candidates. Their names again are Doug Irvin, Judy Schweibert, Coral Evans, and Felicia French. They would go far in terms of flipping both state legislatures. I don't think, the governor's not up in 2020.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so you're stuck with Mr. Ducey, but he could be worse. But anyway, either way, things are better for states that don't have completely Republican controlled governments. So whatever you can do to move Arizona back towards at least having divided control would be awesome. So yeah, and money to those candidates especially goes really far. If you're not interested in donating to them specifically, you could donate to Ditch Mitch, Get Mitch, or Die Trying. I always say Ditch Mitch. I mean, whatever.
I think Ditch Mitch is just like a hashtag.
Yeah, I think Get Mitch or Die Trying is the fund that Crooked Media is using to go towards Senate seats. So again, some Senate seats are more gettable than others. Like, it would be kind of a miracle if Mitch McConnell didn't get reelected. But like, I mean, it's possible. I just don't want people to get sad if he does end up getting reelected. But there are certainly more gettable Senate seats than that. Mm-hmm. I've been continuing to write letters with Vote Forward, continuing to go to my Swing Left groups, although that doesn't really have anything to do with Arizona. I've kind of just decided to dedicate all of my letters to Michigan just because, I don't know, they're near and dear to my heart. Sorry, Arizona. Yeah, I guess that's what you can do. I mean, the same sites that we always talk about if you're really interested in getting into the weeds are swingleft.org, votesaveamerica.com, and Sister District. They all have like lots of actionable steps that you can take. Did I miss anything? What else?
I don't think so. And then if you live in Arizona, or you know someone who lives in Arizona, or you know someone who knows someone who lives in Arizona, like, tell them about this podcast, or tell them to check out, Swing Left and Vote Forward. And, tell them to kind of check those things out, get a little bit involved. This is actually a great time for people to get involved in politics, not just because they really need donations and everything right now, but also just like, you have no excuse if they ask you to go door knocking and that's something you're terrified to do. You can't anyway. So if you want to get involved in politics, but you don't want to door knock, this is a great time to get involved in politics because door knocking's not even an option.
Right.
I love the idea of door knocking because I might get to pet some dogs, but not everybody feels that way.
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, I mean, I agree that this is essentially, I think like a couple years ago, if you told me that I could listen to one like 40-minute podcast and I could get like a general overview of what Illinois government state is right now, I would have been like, oh my gosh, thank you. So I don't have to do that research myself. But also like that would just be useful to have in everyday conversation, but also in shutting people down when they're sharing misinformation. Yeah. So yes, if you're able to share this with a person you know in Arizona, or a friend of a friend of a person in Arizona, we would really appreciate it. And they might also, because they would have, that gives them, I don't know, the ability to be a more responsible, active citizen, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like when I first moved to Illinois several years ago, before moving back to Iowa, I moved there and I was like, I have no idea who our senators are. I don't even know who the governor is. Or
it was probably Rauner, wasn't it?
It was Rauner at the time.
That sucks. I'm so sorry. He was awful.
It was Rauner at the time. We had no budget.
We had no budget for like a year and a half, and both of us worked for. Well,
I at the time worked for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different. But
it was so stressful working for a local health department while Rauner was the governor. Fuck Bruce Rauner forever and ever. Also, weird thing, his wife, do you know anything about his wife? She's
I don't know
like,
anything about his wife.
she's smart and like, I mean, I forget what her like focus was, but I did see her talk at like some maternal health conference once, and I was like, this woman knows what she's talking about. Like, what
this
is
isn't
she
natural.
doing? Why is she wasting her time with Bruce Rauner?
Should she be with somebody like George Conway instead?
That is the weirdest relationship.
The weirdest relationship. But yeah, like when I moved there to Illinois, I had no idea like what was going on with politics. And then the person I was dating at the time was like, oh, well, our governor's not very good, but he's a Democrat.
That's not true.
Bruce Rauner was not a Democrat.
No, he was
I
a
like,
super Republican.
I didn't know that. I thought he was like very conservative. I guess I was confused. No, like the person I was dating was just an idiot. This is also the person that thought America was like
a perfect
the definition
democracy.
of a democracy. And I'm like, a
oh boy, we have news for you.
Bro. Yeah.
You have to be such a white dude to be like, no, it's perfect here.
Yeah, it's true. Like, yeah.
Everything's great for me. I don't know why you guys are struggling. Oh, maybe because women aren't protected in the Equal Rights Amendment.
Yeah, maybe like women are not even in the Constitution.
That's what I meant to say. Maybe because women aren't in the Constitution.
It's
teaser.
Crazy. But yeah, so it's like things like this can be such a good way for people to learn. And then it's also nice if you have somebody that needs to learn, but like, you don't have to tell them.
Right, we'll talk to them for you.
And then if you know it's going to make them mad, okay, that's fine.
They can be mad at Katie and Morgan.
Yeah, they can be mad at us. I'll be really sad about it because I am a people pleaser, Absolutely. But I know I'll get over it. Like my dog will tell me it's fine because she thinks I'm the best.
Yeah.
It's fine. That's fine. And then we'll come visit Arizona once all this is over because I also have not seen the Grand Canyon. I've been through Arizona, but I didn't see the Grand Canyon.
Lindsay's parents now like winter there. Duh. So maybe Dave and Kathy can hook us up.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's what's up with Arizona. I would be thrilled if you guys could get Martha McSally out of the Senate and Mark Kelly into the Senate. That would be ideal. Oh, I wanted to go over some dates. I'm sorry. Oh, and a little bit about voting laws. Sorry. Like in most Republican trifectas, it actually is kind of hard to vote in Arizona. Not hard to vote, but there are more strict regulations that go along with it. So you cannot register at the voting booth same day. You can vote absentee, which is great. You have to request an absentee ballot by October 30th. You have to put it back in the mail by November 3rd, which is election day. You can vote early between October 10th and November 2nd, which means that you still go into the poll, but you do it prior to actual election day. And then you do need an ID to vote, and you can look at votewriters.org if you want to check and see which ones are acceptable. I do think Arizona allows you to bring in 2 pieces of mail that say official election information, so you don't have to have necessarily like a driver's license or anything like that.
Yeah, if you when you register to vote, especially if you do it like early, you'll get like a voter's registration card in the mail, and you can bring that in.
Yes. And then I wanted to make one more like clarification about early voting. Easily the safest thing to do if you live in a state where absentee voting is allowed, request an absentee ballot. If you really can't do that, then like the next safest thing for you to do is to go sometime during early voting because it's a lot less congested. And it's also a reason that it's really important for states to have early voting in the time of coronavirus, because that like spreads out the amount of people and therefore the amount of possibility that people would get exposed to the virus. So those are all good things. And then I'll tell you some dates in Arizona, and then we will let you guys go. So August 4th is the state primary election. October 5th is the general election registration deadline. So you have to register by October 5th. You can go in to vote early anytime between October 10th and November 2nd. You have to request a general election absentee ballot by October 30th. Oh, and that's it. And then the election is on November 3rd. So
and like if
what
you
need to
do
know.
go to request an absentee ballot, no matter what state you're in, it probably is only going to be allowed if you are a registered voter with a political party. Just something to keep in mind. I don't know that every single state is this way, but I know a lot of them are, where in order to vote absentee, you do have to be registered to vote with a particular party, which is crap. But just because you're registered under a certain party does not mean that you have to vote straight ticket or anything.
Right, you're not obligated, yeah.
You're going to get a bunch of campaign mail either way.
True.
At least this way, you'll just be getting one campaign mail. I made the mistake once of registering as an independent, and then I just got double the campaign mail. So just things to think about.
Thanks for the inside scoop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you guys for listening, and we will be back next week with another swing state. Bye. Thank you guys so much for listening to For Your Misinformation. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you like it, give us a rating and a review. It helps us find more listeners, and the more of us there are, the better.
And make sure you're following along on Instagram and Twitter at FYMI Pod.
Shout out to Kyle Dibdahl for the intro and outro music, Hope Dye for the podcast art, and Ben Schlofelt for the audio production.
We come out with new episodes every Monday.